The Crimson Nebula stretched across the view screen like a living canvas of cosmic chaos, its swirling crimson and deep purple clouds concealing a labyrinth of gravitational anomalies that had become a legendary graveyard for exploration vessels. For 3 centuries, no ship had successfully traversed its most notorious region, the Razorback Corridor. Lieutenant Sarah Martinez represented humanity's most audacious hope. Her fingers moved with a dancer's grace across the holographic navigation interface, transforming impossible trajectories into mere suggestions. The IS Horizon was more than a ship. It was a testament to human innovation and unbridled determination. Around her, the ship's systems hummed with a complexity that defied traditional understanding. Quantum positioning algorithms danced alongside intuitive human creativity, creating a symphony of navigation that no pure computational system could replicate. Her co-pilot, Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, watched the gravitational readings with a mix of scientific curiosity and barely contained excitement. Approaching the first quantum shear point, Marcus announced, his voice calm despite the extreme conditions. Gravitational stress is reading at 9.7 teradynes per cubic meter. Sarah didn't respond immediately. Instead, she reached for a battered ceramic mug, a relic from her grandmother's kitchen on Earth. The coffee inside remained perfectly stable, defying the violent gravitational fluctuations surrounding them. The Razorback Corridor was more than a navigation challenge. It was a cosmic proving ground that had systematically destroyed 217 different exploration vessels from advanced galactic civilizations. Quantum AI systems, multi-dimensional navigation computers, and the most sophisticated alien technologies had all failed spectacularly when attempting this route. Alien observational platforms tracked their progress with growing disbelief. The Zoraxian Exploration Directorate had established a continuous monitoring station specifically to document each spectacular failure in this region of space. Quantum drift stabilization at 99.8%. The ship's AI reported in a calm, almost cheerful tone. Structural integrity maintained. Projected exit vector confirmed. Marcus leaned closer to the navigation display. "We're actually doing this," he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. "We're actually going to make it through." The ship's external sensors captured the impossible journey. Gravitational waves that should have torn the vessel apart instead seemed to flow around the ISS horizon like water parting before a skilled swimmer. Where other ships would have been crushed, this human vessel seemed to negotiate with the very fabric of space-time. Sarah's playlist, a collection of vintage punk rock, played softly in the background. The chaotic energy of the music seemed to mirror the ship's impossible navigation, each beat a defiance of expected limitations. Approaching final quantum compression zone, the AI announced. Recommended alien protocol. Maximum caution. Sarah took another sip of coffee. The Zoraxian observation station went silent. Their most advanced sensors struggled to comprehend what was happening. The human vessel wasn't just surviving the Razorback Corridor. It was navigating through it with a grace that bordered on the miraculous. "Transit complete," Sarah said finally, her voice calm and almost bored, requesting standard communication protocols. In that moment, the galaxy realized something fundamental was changing. Humanity wasn't just another species to be cataloged and controlled. They were something entirely unexpected, a force of nature that rewrote the rules of possibility. The universe held its breath. Just another Tuesday for humanity. The Galactic Trials Arena stood as a testament to millennia of cosmic competition. Massive holographic displays surrounded a central platform that seemed to defy physical laws, shifting and reconfiguring with each passing moment. Representatives from 127 different galactic civilizations watched with anticipation, their various appendages, sensory organs, and technological interfaces focused on the upcoming challenges. Dr. Rakesh Chandran adjusted his augmented reality interface, a device that looked like nothing more than a simple pair of glasses to the untrained eye. But those glasses contain more computational power than entire planetary networks of less advanced civilizations. His team of human specialists spread out across the preparation area, each moving with a unique blend of casual confidence and intense focus. The Zoraxian Master of Ceremonies, a towering crystalline being whose body constantly shifted between translucent and opaque states, announced the first challenge. Quantum Adaptive Engineering Protocol. Participants must design a communication network capable of maintaining coherence across 5-dimensional space while adapting to unpredictable quantum fluctuations. Most species approached such a challenge with centuries of established research. Teams would typically spend weeks developing intricate mathematical models, running countless simulations, and preparing highly specialized equipment. The human team did something entirely different. Aisha Patel, a quantum systems engineer with wild curly hair and a vintage t-shirt featuring an ancient internet meme, pulled out a handful of seemingly random electronic components. Her teammates exchanged knowing glances. This was going to be interesting. "We're reimagining the entire problem," she announced to her team, loud enough for nearby observers to hear. "Who says we need to solve their challenge when we can transform it?" The other participating species looked confused. The Zoraxian judges seemed irritated. Established protocols were being challenged before the competition had even truly begun. Rakesh watched the holographic challenge parameters with a slight smile. Where other civilizations saw a fixed set of requirements, humans saw an invitation to creative problem-solving. The Quantum Communication Challenge wasn't a test to be passed. It was a puzzle to be reinvented. Within minutes, Aisha's team had begun constructing something that looked nothing like a traditional communication network. They were weaving quantum entanglement with adaptive machine learning algorithms, creating a communication system that could literally reshape itself in real time. The Cloraxian Observation Team, silicon-based beings known for their rigid computational approaches, began to protest. This violates established quantum communication protocols, their lead representative declared, his crystalline form vibrating with agitation. Dr. Rodriguez simply raised an eyebrow. Protocols are just suggestions until someone proves them wrong. 12 minutes into the challenge, the human team submitted their solution. The previous record for completing such a task was 17 days. Silence fell across the arena. The holographic displays began to process the submission. Complex algorithms designed to evaluate the solution started to run, their sophisticated systems probing every potential weakness. Nothing happened. Then everything happened at once. The human communication network didn't just solve the challenge. It demonstrated capabilities that expanded the very understanding of quantum communication. It wasn't just a solution. It was a complete reimagining of the underlying principles. Rakesh watched the judges' reactions with a mixture of scientific curiosity and barely contained amusement. The Zoraxian officials looked like their entire understanding of technological progress was crumbling before their eyes. "We're not here to compete," Aisha muttered to her teammates. "We're here to show them what's possible." As the final evaluation completed, the arena erupted in a cacophony of translated reactions. Some species looked terrified. Others appeared genuinely excited. The human team simply high-fived each other and began discussing where they might get lunch. The first challenge was complete, and nothing would ever be the same again. The research complex floated in the neutral zone between galactic territories, a massive construct of interconnected modules that represented the pinnacle of scientific collaboration. Here, the galactic trials would explore the true depth of each species' problem-solving capabilities. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood at the central observation deck, her dark eyes scanning the holographic displays that showed the upcoming challenges. Unlike the rigid preparation of other species, the human team moved with an organic, almost improvisational energy that defied traditional scientific methodologies. The first challenge appeared on the screens, a complex communication encryption problem designed to test the limits of technological security. Every participating species had approached such challenges the same way for centuries: complex mathematical algorithms, layered encryption protocols, and heavily structured problem-solving approaches. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura, the team's lead cryptography specialist, looked at the challenge and began to laugh. "They're thinking about encryption all wrong," he announced to his teammates. Instead of developing a more complex encryption method, the human team started deconstructing the entire concept of communication security. Where other species saw a problem to be solved, humans saw a system to be reimagined. The Zoraxian scientific observers watched in growing confusion. The human team wasn't just solving the encryption challenge. They were fundamentally transforming the understanding of information security. Their approach combined elements of social psychology, adaptive algorithms, and what could only be described as creative intuition. Lydia Chen, a young systems theorist with a background in both quantum computing and cultural anthropology, began mapping out an entirely new approach. Her holographic displays showed intricate networks of communication that shifted and adapted in real time, breaking down the very concept of a fixed encryption method. "Security isn't about building walls," she explained to her bewildered teammates. "It's about creating a living, breathing system that can understand and adapt to potential threats." The next challenge arrived, a resource management simulation that had traditionally been a nightmare for most species. Previous participants typically approached it with rigid economic models and predetermined strategies. The human team did something entirely unexpected. Instead of focusing on resource allocation, they began studying the underlying social and ecological systems that created resource challenges in the first place. Their simulation didn't just manage resources, it reimagined how resources could be understood, shared, and developed. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez pulled up historical case studies from Earth, examples of community-driven solutions, adaptive economic models, and collaborative problem-solving. The other species looked on in confusion as humans transformed a simple resource management test into a comprehensive exploration of societal potential. The Cloraxian lead researcher, a silicon-based being of extraordinary computational power, found himself completely baffled. "They're not solving the problem," he muttered to his assistant. "They're dissolving the very concept of the problem." Commander Elena Rodriguez watched with a subtle smile. Each challenge was revealing something fundamental about human approach to challenges. It wasn't about finding the right answer. It was about understanding the question in an entirely new way. The simulation moved through increasingly complex scenarios. Where other species would become more rigid and controlled, the human team became more fluid, more adaptive. They didn't just respond to challenges. They anticipated them, transformed them, and created entirely new possibilities. By the simulation's end, the resource management model developed by the human team had become something entirely unprecedented. It wasn't just a solution. It was a living system of potential, a dynamic approach that could adapt to virtually any scenario. The Galactic trial observers realized something profound was happening. Humanity wasn't just another species to be categorized and understood. They were a fundamental force of innovation, a perspective that could reshape entire understanding of problem-solving. Commander Rodriguez looked up at the observation deck, her eyes reflecting a universe of possibilities. "We're just getting started," she said quietly. And in that moment, everything changed. The research facility hummed with an energy that defied traditional scientific understanding. Located in a neutral zone between galactic territories, it represented the bleeding edge of human technological innovation. Massive holographic displays flickered with complex algorithms, while quantum computing nodes pulsed with barely contained potential. Jack Wei leaned back in his ergonomic chair, a vintage handheld gaming device, sitting casually next to his most advanced research equipment. At 28, he was already considered a prodigy among human researchers, but he approached breakthrough technology with the same casual attitude he approached video games. The Quantum Communication Protocol Challenge had been sitting on the team's research board for weeks. Most scientific teams would have approached it with months of careful planning, extensive mathematical modeling, and conservative incremental development. Jack did something completely different. During a late-night gaming session, Inspiration struck. The complex interaction mechanics of his favorite strategy game suddenly revealed a new approach to quantum communication that no one had considered before. What started as an idle thought during a game became a revolutionary technological breakthrough. Dr. Amara Okonkwo, the facility's lead researcher, watched in fascination as Jack began to transform his sudden insight into a working prototype. Where traditional quantum communication relied on rigid, predetermined pathways, Jack's approach created a dynamic, adaptive network that could reshape itself in real time. "It's like the communication network is playing a strategy game," Jack explained, his fingers dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. Instead of following fixed routes, it anticipates and adapts. The research facility's AI assistant tried to process the new approach. Traditional computational models struggle to understand the fluid, almost organic nature of Jack's design. It was less a communication protocol and more a living system of information exchange. Nearby, other research teams worked on complementary projects. Elena Rodriguez developed adaptive materials that could change their fundamental properties in response to environmental challenges. Marcus Chaves explored quantum entanglement techniques that seemed to defy established physical laws. The Zoraxian observation team watched with a mixture of horror and fascination. Their civilization had spent millennia developing communication technologies that were now being completely reimagined in a matter of hours. Jack's breakthrough wasn't just about faster or more secure communication. It represented a fundamental shift in understanding how information could move and interact. The protocol he was developing could potentially connect systems across unimaginable distances, adapting and self-correcting in ways no previous technology had achieved. "We're not just solving a technical challenge," Jack muttered, more to himself than anyone else. "We're reimagining the entire concept of communication." The facility's quantum computing nodes began to light up, processing the new protocol at speeds that would have been considered impossible just months ago. Complex mathematical models transformed into living, breathing systems of information exchange. Dr. Okonkwo approached Jack's workstation, her eyes wide with understanding. "Do you realize what you've just created?" she asked, her voice a mixture of scientific excitement and genuine wonder. Jack just grinned and took a sip of rapidly cooling coffee. "Just solving an interesting puzzle," he said casually. But it was so much more than that. The communication protocol represented a fundamental reimagining of how information could exist and move. It wasn't just a technological breakthrough. It was a new way of understanding connection itself. As the day progressed, the implications became clear. This wasn't just another scientific advancement. It was a technological revolution that would reshape entire understanding of communication, connection, and possibility. The universe was about to change. And it all started with a moment of unexpected inspiration during a video game. The diplomatic chamber floated in the neutral zone of deep space, a massive spherical structure designed to facilitate communication between diverse galactic civilizations. Crystal walls shifted with holographic displays, translating thousands of languages in real time. Delegations from 147 different species sat in carefully designed sections, each with environmental controls matching their unique physiological requirements. Ambassador Michael Chen walked into the chamber wearing a simple navy blazer and a vintage silk tie that had belonged to his grandfather. Where other diplomatic representatives arrived with elaborate ceremonial attire and complex technological interfaces, Chen carried nothing more than a well-worn leather notebook and an unexpected sense of calm. A crisis had erupted between the Silicon Confederacy and the Liquid Resonance Collective, two species with fundamentally incompatible communication methods and dramatically different cultural perspectives. Previous diplomatic attempts had failed spectacularly, with negotiations breaking down after centuries of misunderstanding. Chen approached the situation differently. Instead of diving into complex political negotiations, he began by sharing stories. Not diplomatic reports or strategic analyses, but personal narratives that revealed the fundamental experiences of both civilizations. The Silicon Confederacy representatives, beings composed of intricate crystalline structures that communicated through precise electromagnetic frequencies, initially bristled at this approach. Their diplomatic protocols demanded exact scientific language, meticulously calculated responses, and zero emotional content. To their shock, Chen started talking about his grandmother's immigration story. He described how she had arrived in a new country with nothing but hope, how she had learned to build a life through understanding and connection. The translation system struggled to convey the nuanced emotional content, but something profound was happening. Dr. Lydia Rodriguez, Chen's cultural liaison, watched the proceedings with a subtle smile. Where traditional diplomacy saw differences as obstacles, humans saw them as opportunities for understanding. The Liquid Resonance Collective, a species of adaptive fluid intelligences that communicated through complex chemical interactions, began to change their posture. Their translucent forms started to pulse with unexpected rhythms, a sign of genuine engagement that no previous diplomatic mission had ever witnessed. Chen wasn't just sharing a story. He was demonstrating a fundamental approach to understanding that transcended technological or biological differences. He showed how individual experiences could bridge seemingly impossible gaps. Conflict isn't about differences, Chen explained, his voice calm and clear. It's about the stories we haven't yet heard. The diplomatic chamber fell silent. Centuries of established communication protocols began to dissolve, replaced by something more profound and more human. The Silicon Confederacy's lead representative, a being of pure crystalline intelligence, made an unprecedented request. "Tell us more about your grandmother," they said, their electromagnetic frequencies shifting to a pattern of genuine curiosity. What followed was not a traditional negotiation, but a genuine cultural exchange. Chen's approach transformed the entire understanding of diplomatic resolution. He didn't solve the conflict through complex treaties or strategic compromises. He solved it through genuine human connection. As the session concluded, representatives from other galactic civilizations watched in stunned silence. The humans had done something impossible. They had turned a potentially catastrophic diplomatic crisis into an opportunity for mutual understanding. Dr. Rodriguez leaned close to Chen. "Impressive," she whispered. Chen just smiled. "We're just getting started," he replied. The universe watched and realized something fundamental was changing. Humanity wasn't just another species. They were a force of connection, of understanding, of possibility. And everything was about to change. The planet of Stylos Prime had been dying for millennia. Once a thriving ecosystem, it now existed as a fragmented shell of its former self, a testament to the limitations of technological intervention by the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. Massive industrial complexes dotted its surface, remnants of failed terraforming attempts that had only accelerated the world's decline. Dr. Aisha Patel stood at the planet's primary research station, her eyes scanning the desolate landscape. Where other scientific teams had seen an impossible challenge, the Human Research Group saw an opportunity for complete planetary rehabilitation. "We're not going to fix this," she told her team. "We're going to reimagine it entirely." The Galactic Restoration Committee had declared Stylos Prime a lost cause. 17 different advanced civilizations had attempted restoration projects over the past 3,000 years, each failing more spectacularly than the last. The planet's complex ecological systems had been so thoroughly disrupted that most scientists believed total planetary recovery was impossible. The human team approached the challenge with a fundamentally different perspective. Instead of applying large-scale technological solutions, they began by understanding the planet's entire ecological history. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez dove into historical ecological records, tracing the planet's environmental changes across millennia. Dr. Elena Chen explored the intricate chemical interactions of the planet's remaining microbiological systems. Their approach wasn't about restoration, it was about resurrection. They developed a multidimensional ecological model that combined quantum simulation, adaptive biotechnology, and a deep understanding of complex systemic interactions. Where previous restoration attempts had been linear and rigid, the human approach was fluid and dynamic. The Galactian observation team watched in disbelief as the human researchers began their work. Their methodologies defied every established scientific protocol. They weren't just applying technology. They were creating a living system of planetary renewal. Specialized nano-ecological systems began to transform the planet's surface. These weren't simple repair mechanisms. They were adaptive intelligence networks that could read, understand, and respond to the planet's environmental needs in real time. Within weeks, the first signs of change appeared. Microscopic organisms began to rebuild complex ecological networks. Areas that had been barren for thousands of years started showing the first hints of potential life. The HFY Scientific Council convened an emergency session. Their most advanced scientists struggled to comprehend what was happening on Silos Prime. The human team wasn't just restoring a planet. They were demonstrating a completely new approach to ecological intervention. Dr. Paddle explained their methodology to the bewildered galactic observers. "We're not fixing a planet," she said. "We're having a conversation with an entire ecosystem." The restoration project became more than a scientific endeavor. It was a profound demonstration of humanity's unique approach to problem-solving. Where other civilizations saw limitations, humans saw potential. Months passed. The planet began to transform in ways no one had predicted. Complex ecological networks emerged. Areas that had been dead for millennia began to show signs of renewed life. The nano-ecological systems didn't just repair, they evolved, adapted, and created entirely new possibilities. The Galactic Restoration Committee watched in stunned silence as Stylos Prime came back to life. What had been considered an impossible challenge became a testament to human innovation. Dr. Rodriguez looked out over the transforming landscape. "We're just getting started," he said quietly. And in that moment, the galaxy realized that everything was about to change. The Galactic Council chamber rose like a crystalline flower suspended in the void of deep space. Architects from 147 different civilizations had contributed to its design, a massive, ever-shifting structure that symbolized the complex interactions of galactic politics. Holographic displays danced with real-time translations, while environmental controls maintained perfect conditions for delegates representing species as diverse as silicon-based intelligences and gaseous plasma entities. Captain Sarah Martinez stood at the center of this cosmic meeting place, wearing a simple Earth Alliance uniform that seemed almost deliberately understated compared to the elaborate ceremonial attire of other delegations. Her presence alone seemed to change the atmospheric pressure of the entire chamber. The Zoraxian Empress, a being of pure crystalline intelligence that had ruled her civilization for over 3 centuries, watched with an unprecedented sense of uncertainty. Humanity had transformed from a species of mild curiosity to a fundamental force of galactic transformation in a remarkably short time. "We're not here to conquer," Sarah began, her voice clear and direct. "We're here to collaborate." Those simple words sent ripples through the assembled representatives. Historically, every major galactic civilization had approached diplomatic meetings as carefully choreographed displays of power. Humans were introducing something entirely different, a genuine approach to collective problem-solving. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez stepped forward, bringing with him a comprehensive proposal that was less a traditional diplomatic document and more a living blueprint for galactic cooperation. Where previous diplomatic initiatives had been rigid and hierarchical, this approach was adaptive, collaborative, and fundamentally transformative. The proposal didn't just address immediate challenges. It reimagined the entire concept of interspecies collaboration. It suggested governance models that could adapt in real time, resource-sharing protocols that prioritize collective growth, and communication systems that could bridge seemingly impossible cultural differences. The Galactian delegation, known for their incredibly complex computational approaches, found themselves both challenged and intrigued. Their lead representative's crystalline form pulsed with unusual frequencies, a sign of genuine intellectual excitement. You're suggesting we don't just solve problems, the Cloraxian representative translated through the communication systems, but continuously reimagine our approach to challenges. Sarah Martinez smiled. Exactly. The diplomatic exchanges that followed were unlike anything in galactic history. Humans weren't presenting a fixed solution, but offering a dynamic framework for collective problem-solving. They introduced concepts of adaptive governance, collaborative innovation, and mutual growth that seemed to dissolve traditional boundaries between species. Dr. Elena Chen demonstrated ecological restoration techniques developed on Silos Prime. Jack Wei shared quantum communication protocols that could connect civilizations in ways never before imagined. Ambassador Michael Chen presented cultural exchange models that transformed diplomatic interactions into genuine opportunities for mutual understanding. The Zoraxian Empress, for the first time in her 300-year reign, felt something close to humility. The rigid power structures that had defined galactic civilization for millennia were crumbling, replaced by a more fluid, more collaborative approach. "We're not asking you to become like us," Sarah explained to the assembled delegates. "We're inviting you to explore what's possible when we work together." The chamber fell silent. Holographic displays showed real-time simulations of the proposed collaborative models, demonstrating possibilities that seemed to defy established understanding. As the session concluded, something fundamental had changed. The galaxy was no longer a collection of competing civilizations. It was becoming a collaborative network of potential, with humanity serving as a catalyst for transformation. Dr. Rodriguez looked at Captain Martinez. "We're just getting started," he said quietly. And in that moment, the universe realized everything was about to change. The Cosmic Collaboration Center hung in the delicate balance between known space and unexplored potential. A massive structure that defied traditional architectural understanding, it represented humanity's most ambitious project, a living testament to the power of collective imagination. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the central observation deck, watching as representatives from 214 different galactic civilizations worked together in ways that would have been impossible just years before. The center wasn't just a diplomatic facility. It was a living laboratory of possibility. Holographic displays danced with collaborative research projects, adaptive governance models, and intricate networks of shared knowledge. Where previous galactic interactions had been defined by competition and carefully managed resources, this new approach celebrated diversity as the ultimate source of innovation. Captain Sarah Martinez approached, her casual stride a stark contrast to the formal movements of other diplomatic representatives. "How are the new collaborative research initiatives progressing?" she asked. Elena's eyes sparkled with excitement. "We're seeing breakthroughs that would have been unimaginable just a few years ago. The Cloraxian quantum communication team is working directly with the liquid resonance neural network specialists. Their combined approach is creating entirely new understanding of information transfer." The transformation wasn't just technological, it was fundamentally cultural. Nearby, a delegation of young researchers from different species worked together on a complex ecological restoration project. Where previous generations would have been separated by linguistic, biological, and cultural barriers, these teams moved with a fluid sense of collective purpose. Jack Wei demonstrated a new adaptive learning system that could translate not just languages, but entire cultural contexts. It wasn't about creating a universal language, but about helping different species genuinely understand each other's perspectives. Communication isn't about translation, Jack explained to a group of fascinated observers. It's about creating genuine understanding. The Zoraxian Empress, who had once viewed humans with dismissive condescension, now sat as an equal partner in the Galactic Collaborative Council. Her crystalline form reflected the dynamic, ever-changing nature of the new galactic approach. Ambassador Michael Chen walked through the collaborative spaces, watching teams solve challenges that would have seemed impossible just years before. A group of researchers from silicon-based, gaseous, and carbon-based life forms worked together on a project to explore a newly discovered quantum dimensional boundary. "We're not just exploring space," Chen said to a young researcher. We're exploring what's possible when we truly work together. The center represented more than a diplomatic or scientific facility. It was a living demonstration of humanity's most profound contribution to the galaxy, the understanding that diversity is the ultimate source of innovation. Dr. Aisha Patel reviewed a holographic display showing collaborative planetary restoration projects. Worlds once considered beyond salvation were now becoming vibrant, complex ecosystems. Each project was a testament to the power of collective imagination. As the day progressed, more breakthroughs emerged. Technological innovations, ecological restoration techniques, and collaborative governance models that reimagined what was possible. The rigid boundaries between species began to dissolve, replaced by a more fluid, more dynamic approach to existence. Sarah Martinez looked out over the collaborative spaces. The human team had done something unprecedented. They hadn't conquered the galaxy. They had invited the galaxy to reimagine itself. "We're just getting started," she said quietly. And in that moment, the universe opened its eyes to a new kind of potential. Humanity had shown that the greatest strength wasn't about power or technology. It was about connection, understanding, and the willingness to imagine something better. The future was waiting to be discovered.